It's your boy Francis Joseph Lamana from newsbuffet.com. This was one topic, this was the last thing that I wanted to speak about in the video that I just went live on. But I forgot to do it. Got a little distracted. It just kind of fled my mind. But I came across an amazing variation into the Jesus story. And calling it amazing because I figured it out, right? I put it together. I did the research and I came up with my own idea. This isn't something that I have ever heard before. And yesterday when I was reading, I said, oh my God, this really makes sense. And I'm going to start this off by just reminding you that there's certain things about the life of Jesus that stand out. Like, how is this guy so popular, so loved, so adored? People are have made trillions and probably, I don't even know what the next level up is, but quadrillions, quadrillions of dollars off of this guy in the last 2,000 years, and yet nobody knows anything about him. How is that possible? Oh, well, there was a period in his life that's unaccounted for. We don't know what happened to him between, his teenage years and the time that he came back to start his ministry. He just disappeared. There's no record of where he went. Okay. If he was the king of the Jews, then why did the Jewish people hate him so much? The Jewish people hated him. They let a criminal go free and crucified an innocent man. Why? These are some of the questions that just don't make sense. So when I was doing the research yesterday, I came across a story that I put together that started to fill in some of those gaps. And that's what I'm going to share with you. I'm going to read the story that I wrote on my blog, and then I'm going to talk about it for a couple minutes. So the title of the article is Jewish equals I wish. J-E or Ye can be traced back to meaning I. So if you look at the word Jewish, it can be translated to mean I wish. Sus, S-U-S, means dishonest, questionable, and suspicious. So if Jesus was the king of the Jews and his name can be translated to mean I'm dishonest, questionable, and suspicious, then figure it out for yourself what the meaning is there. Jews for the longest time considered themselves to be God's chosen, but if Jesus was the king of the Jews and his name can be translated to mean I'm dishonest, then what's it really saying? Who the hell is this guy Jesus that we know nothing about? And why don't we know anything about him? So the article splits off and I pick up with the Septuagint. According to Wikipedia, the Septuagint is sometimes referred to as the Greek Old Testament or the translation of the 70, and it's the earliest Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible from the original Hebrew. It was at the request of Ptolemy II Philadelphus that the laws of the Jews be translated to Greek by 72 Hebrew translators, 6 people chosen from each of the 12 tribes of Israel. What we come to find out is that some ancient scripture are found in the Septuagint, but not in the Hebrew Bible. Out of the books that are not in the Hebrew Bible, one in particular caught my eye. It's called Wisdom of Jesus, Son of Sirach. The book of Sirach is an apocryphal Jewish work originally written in biblical Hebrew. It contains the teachings of a man named Yeshua ben Eleazar ben Sarah, who was a Hellenistic Jewish scribe of the Second Temple period. The Second Temple period was a 600-year period from 516 BC to 70 AD. Well, if Jesus was born in 4 BC, as people say, and crucified in 33 AD, then that puts him in the right place at the right time. Now pay attention closely. Yeshua ben Eleazar ben Sarah, aka Ben Sarah, aka Jesus, the son of Sarah of Jerusalem. Jesus then was a writer. He was a Hellenistic Jewish scribe of the Second Temple period. That's who the hell Jesus is. He wrote the book of Sirach in 180 BC, and out of all the Testament and apocryphal writers, Ben Sirach was unique. Well, why? Because he was the only one to have claimed authorship of his work. He wanted to be recognized for his work, and he was the only one. And that is why I believe he was mocked, spat on, and sarcastically called the King of the Jews. Now, if you still doubt that this man, Ben Sirach, was the name we've all come to know and love, if you still doubt that this man, Ben Sirach, was the man we've all come to know and love, whose name is Jesus, then I keep reading. It says, according to the Greek version, though not according to the Syriac, the author traveled extensively, Sirach 32:12, and was frequently in danger of death. Collins comments that unfortunately he gives no details of his travels. So that goes back to, it's commonly known that there's a dark period of time in Jesus's life where nobody knows where he went. They say that he traveled and he learned Hinduism and he learned, all the different religions of the world before he came back and started his ministry, but there's no record of where he went or of his travels. So nobody really knows what he did for sure between that period of time. And that's exactly what this guy is saying about this man, Ben Sirach. Isn't it interesting that the Ptolemaic kingdom lasted from 305 BC to 30 AD, and they were succeeded by Roman Egypt? They were Greek-speaking Jews who lived in Egypt. They were Greek in descent, Jewish by faith, and citizens of Egypt. They were suspicious, questionable, and dishonest, but they had a wish, and that was to be God's chosen. Unfortunately, they got caught and they decided to sacrifice Jesus. Then the Macedonian Empire ended along with the Ptolemaic kingdom, and the Romans took over their section in Egypt. Perhaps claiming to be Jewish was the only way the Greeks could get into Egypt at the time. I don't know. Maybe they wanted to investigate the pyramids or the Sphinx. So there's definitely something going on at that time. And this is why I posted on the News Buffet Facebook page, and I was kind of laughing about it. They were Greek, Jewish in descent, but they lived in Egypt. Like that is so hilarious to me because, it's like why would, it just seems like a deep cover thing, because think about it. If you're looking at me and I live in Egypt, you're going to just say I'm Egyptian, right? I mean, that's what you would say on the surface. Oh, he's an Egyptian. He lives in Egypt. Well, no. I mean, if you dig a little deeper, you'll find out that I do live in Egypt, but I'm Jewish in faith and I'm really a Greek. So it's like that was like the CIA, like back in the day. Like I feel like for some reason the Greeks wanted to get into Egypt for something. Maybe it had something to do with the Library of Alexandria, or who knows. I feel like the Greeks wanted to get into Egypt, but they couldn't do it. And their cover was the Jewish faith. So they kind of had to disguise themselves as Jews and then make their way into Egypt and then become citizens of Egypt. So they were Greek-speaking Jews who lived in Egypt. They were They were Greek in national origin, Jewish by faith, and citizens of Egypt. But they were really Greek. And so the story, I mean, it's like think about how much this changes everything if this is actually true. Because this would give you a pretty good reason for why the Jewish people hated Jesus so much. Because maybe they were trying to get the Jewish faith going. They were trying to bring in believers. They were trying to put this book of apocryphal and text together of testaments that had no authorship and that they could claim was passed down from the beginning of time by Jesus himself. And then here comes this guy Jesus who puts his name on the fucking book, and it's like, I wrote it. Jesus, he didn't give it to us. I wrote it. Like, if I was running the Jewish faith and I wanted all of my writers to not put their name on the work because I'm trying to pass it off as something passed down through the last 10,000 years given to us by God, and then you decide to take credit for the work, it's like, I could see why they would see that as a selfish move. Like, I mean, he could potentially mess up the whole faith by doing that. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that kind of fills in some of the blanks. I mean, the time period is kind of right, although this guy, Ben Sira, did live, I think they said, in 180 BC. So the years are kind of off, but who knows? I mean, it could have been, or it could have been a descendant of his. But I just find that really interesting that his name was Jesus, the son of Sira of Jerusalem. And they said what became of what he wrote. And they said that it became, or that it was ecclesiastic. How do you say that? Ecclesiasticles. Yeah. They're saying that book is what he wrote. So if that's true, hold on, let me check. This is the best part of the whole thing. Because no matter what the story is, and no matter what happened, Ecclesiastes. So no matter what the story is, and no matter what happens, they're saying that that was the book. That means that Jesus wrote Ecclesiasticus. I can't even say it. Ecclesiastes. He wrote Ecclesiastes. That means that we actually have a book in the Bible that was written by fucking Jesus. So I read the whole book last night. And I read it, and while I read it, I was just imagining that I was Jesus and that I was writing it. And you know what, man? It really put me into an interesting frame of mind. And here, listen to this. Listen to this. When you go to the last chapter of Ecclesiastes, it ends with Ecclesiastes 12:13. The end of the matter, all has been heard. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God will bring every deed into judgment with every secret thing, whether good or evil. So everybody says, what is our role here in life? What is our mission? We're put here for a special purpose. Well, it's telling you right here that it's to fear God and keep his commandments. Don't kill, don't covet your neighbor's wife, don't steal, Don't take the Lord's name in vain. But I'm telling you, when you read Ecclesiastes and you read it from the perspective now knowing that it could have potentially have been written by Jesus, it really changes the way you read this book and understand it. It gives it a whole different meaning. And look in the beginning, it even says Ecclesiastes or the preacher. I'm telling you, I think this is probably it. This is one of the things. All right. Have a good day.